interesting research paper for a few reasons. It's called Mint1T, and it came out a few days ago on Thursday as of making of this video. And it's called Scaling Open Source Multimodal Data by 10x, a multimodal data set with 1 trillion tokens. And then so first of all, we're talking about a data set here, right? And then so off the top, I want to say, like, before you click away and say just a data set, like, I am more interested and more thrilled at this point by like a 1 trillion token data set than I am by like a 7 billion parameter AI like model, right? LLM model, right? Like, even if it's like, okay, it's the best 7 billion parameter model that's come out, this is better to me than that. And then reason being is like this has more longevity and this has more importance. And then this paper very specifically is kind of key, right? Like, so this paper originally was published on July 17th, and then they updated it on July 24th, which is interesting, right? Because so in between that time, what happens is the Google paper comes out with essentially the best performance that you get is by mixing the data, like, right? Like, not separating the data and separating the data set. And within this update and within all of this research, they lay it out and they give it to you exactly as the Google research paper that was released a few days ago says, like a few days before this, said and outlined within that paper. So they updated their methodology within it, which is really awesome. And then the big thing to pay attention to and to look at within this is that, so as far as multimodal data specifically, this is, again, as they state, like 10 times larger than anything that has existed before in the open source market, right? And then so they compare that to like Obelix, which is 100 billion parameter token, 100 billion tokens. And then you do have MM1 and Chameleon, which are 400 billion tokens each, but those are not open source data sets. Whereas the Mint1T is completely open source, completely free for everyone. And then it's multimodal data, right? So it's trained on its text, the images of text, HTML, normal data, PDF data, a lot of archive data, image filtering. So it is like this is from a lot of like web scraping is where this data comes from, like archive and different sources and from websites, etc. From publicly accessible websites that Salesforce Research has published here. And then so as to the different methods and the different methodologies, they break it down, and essentially they just give their how they set up and they got access to the data, how they train the data, and how they formulate the data. And then at the end, they give kind of like samples of the data in the appendices. And that's really the gist of it overall, right? But the big thing is 1 trillion tokens, which is huge. It's with regards towards multimodal training data. Again, it dwarfs anything that we currently have available. And I'm very surprised, honestly, that it's Salesforce Research that's putting this out. And that's the big thing to me, and like why this caught my eye and caught my attention very specifically is because to me, this is the market that Salesforce wants to play in, is this data market and commodifying data. And so I think it's a kudos to the open source community overall for making this and hampering and harping on this open data argument. And like for the last like year or so, I think if the open source community hadn't been harping on and hasn't been harping on like open data as being as open source, then you wouldn't see like this Mint1T release that we're seeing today, just flat out. And then, but so overall, this is an amazing release, amazing for everyone all around. We have access to 1 trillion tokens now of multimodal data, multimodal use data, and that utilizes the methodologies that is put out as in the recent released Google paper around this as well. So all fantastic news all around. Mint1T, I'll leave a link to the description to this paper in the video, and please check it out. Thank you very much.